So, I'm sitting down to watch this MLB All-Star Game in what's been a great first half of the season. But I can't help but notice this AL lineup. Guys, this is pretty bad. No shade at all to Ryan O'Hearn and Gleyber Torres, but this team is lacking some aura. The NL is looking pretty stacked, but the AL is kind of weak in comparison. It seems like there just isn't the same names that we used to have grace the All-Star games. Some of it's from injuries. I'm sure if Trout, Ramirez, Altuve, Seager, or Semien were in the lineup, it would look a lot better. But this is a tough watch. It's also no shade to any of the players who are in the starting lineup. They've all had great seasons and deserve to be here, but these aren't the household names of yesterday. But just to put things into perspective, here's the entire AL infield combined stats. And here's Freddie Freeman's number. By the way, I could do this for Betts and Machado also. Even further, when you look at the total amount of All-Stars made by the starting lineup, this is the fewest all time. Granted, they still have the rest of their careers to rack up a bunch more of appearance, but it does say something about this current team. Even looking back at past years to see how this team ranks, there's been a couple bad ones. So I thought today we'd look at some of the past All-Star teams, see which ones are bad, which ones are good. And by far, the worst team belongs to the 1962 AL All-Star team. If we thought this team was bad, this one is pretty bad. It was second one, FYI, from that 59 to 62 season. The MLB had two All-Star games with almost identical lineups. Apparently, it was to raise money for the players' pension fund. Okay. And let me tell you, this team is bad. They have the second lowest WAR out of all All-Star teams, including teams during World War II and current teams, which is especially crazy since they are all still in the middle of playing and will only increase their WAR. They also only had one Hall of Famer, which is tied for the lowest ever. And I don't know, he's kind of mid. No shade at Luis Aparicio, but he's okay. 55 career WAR is solid, but 82 career OPS plus. Bench was loaded with Yogi Berra, Brooks Robinson, Elston Howard, and Mickey Mantle, but for this video we're only focusing on the starting lineup. Another team that stands out is the 2023 All-Star team, particularly focusing on the outfield and the AL. This was the year Judge was hurt, Trout was hurt, and Yordan Alvarez got hurt earlier in the year, so wasn't able to put up a full year of stats. I'm not even going to try to justify it. This team is pretty atrocious. In left, you had Arozarena, center was Austin Hayes, and right was Adolis Garcia. Again, these aren't bad players, but you'd expect a little more for all-star starters. For context, which player would you rather have, A or B? A is 52.8 WAR in 11 seasons, 5 All-Stars, 273 career average, and a 267 home runs. Player B has 41.8 WAR in 22 seasons, 4 All-Stars, 319 home runs, and a 251 career average. I'd say B has a little more longevity, but you take A. A is Lindor. B is the entire AL starting outfield from 23. But, we'll chill with the curmudgeoning. Been trashing the game a little too much. So let's take a look at some actually good outfields. The greatest by far outfield display belongs to the 1957 All-Star Game. In the NL, they had Frank Robinson in left, Willie Mays in center, Hank Aaron in right, which, not too shabby. And not for nothing, but the AL had Al Klein in right, Mickey Mantle in center, and just Ted Williams in left. For those keeping track at home, that's a total of 731.6 career WAR, or 121.9 per player, and 120 total All-Star appearances between them. That's just ridiculous. Now, for the best infield, you need to take a look at the 98 All-Star team. They had Pudge catching, Tomey at first, Roberto Alomar at second, Ripken at third, and Baby A-Rod at shortstop. As a total, they had 422 career WAR between the 5 of them, which is good for 84.4 WAR per player, and 4 of the 5 of them made the Hall of Fame, with A-Rod being the lone exception. In addition, between the 5, they had 64 career All-Star games, 2 short of the most of all time. Second place on the infield list goes to the 1934 AL All-Star team. They had 411.8 WAR, or 82.3 WAR per player. And the lineup consisted of Bill Dickey catching, Lou Gehrig at first, Charlie Gehring at second, Jimmy Foxx at third, and Joe Cronin at short. Happens to be all 5 of them are actually Hall of Famers. This is one of 5 times the entire starting lineup for its team became Hall of Famers. Side note that every single starter on the team made it to the Hall of Fame, which is kind of crazy. But back to the previous point. Of the 5 teams, the entire infield made the Hall of Fame. The other times this happened was the AL team in 1994, both sides in 1996, and the other NL side in 1934. Pretty neat that 2 times we've had both starting infields all make the Hall of Fame. And if my calculations are correct, it happens every 62 years, so watch out for 2056 All-Star Game. Looking to be a good one. Happened to be, this 34 team also had the second most team WAR ever. Top spot goes to the 01 AL team. But that entire year was absolutely stacked. The NL also had their third most WAR ever, and combined, this is the most WAR in a starting lineup with 1,465.8. They also get a huge bump in WAR since that year the game was played with a DH, and the random number generator of pitchers spat out Roger Clemens, which is pretty big. Just a huge side note about how terrible some of these MLB All-Star pitching matchups are. Worst one by WAR from 1948 between Walt Masterton of the Senators versus Ralph Bronk of the Dodgers. Not gonna lie, Walt Masterton was not great. Don't really know how he started. It's possible the other pitchers were not available, but he was not good. Ralph, on the other hand, interesting story. He was called up to the Dodgers at 18. He was thrown straight into the fire in 1944. By 47 at age 21, he won 21 games and posted a 2.67 ERA and finished 11th in MVP voting that year. By 48, he was an up-and-coming star and was slated to start the All-Star Game for the NL. He would have some up and down years for the next couple of years until 1951. The Dodgers were playing the Giants with the pennant at stake. In came Bronco in the 9th, and he would give up the infamous shot heard around the world. He would end up having injuries the following season and became a shell of the player he once was. His 1,250 innings by 25 kind of didn't help with that, but he really didn't have too long of a career. Anyways, back to All-Stars. The game with the most All-Star appearances for both starting lineups was 1959, but the second one because pensions. In total, there was 233 All-Star appearances, 106 by the AL, and 127 by the NL, which, again, just crazy numbers. Starting for the AL was Berra, 18-time All-Star at catcher, 5-timer Pete Runnels at first base, 15-timer Nellie Fox at second base, 8-timer Frank Malzone at third, 13-time Luis Aparicio at short, 19-time Ted Williams, 20-timer Mickey Mantle at center, and 7-timer Roger Maris at right. And pitching, first-timer and only-timer Jerry Walker was the starting pitcher. For the NL, we had 11-time All-Star Den Crandell, 20-time All-Star Stan Musial, 6-timer Johnny Temple at second, 11-timer Ken Boyer at third, 14-timer Ernie Banks at shortstop, 3-timer Wally Moon at left field, 24-timer Willie Mays at center field, 25-timer Hank Aaron at right, and 9-timer Don Drysdale taking the mound. In total, there was 10 Hall of Famers in these games, with 5 apiece. These infields were really what stands out. The NL is tied for the most All-Stars by an infield with 66 all-time, and is not to be outdone by the AL, also has the 12th most for the AL with 59. But this was also the 15th most WAR put out for the fields, for an MLB All-Star Game with 1,183.2 total WAR between the two lineups, or 65.7 WAR per player. For context, Joey Votto has a career WAR of 63.6 WAR. What makes this even crazier is that they didn't have a DH, so it's one less spot in the order, and the starting pitcher random number generator didn't help them out that much with this pitching matchup. In total, they were infield heavy, so let's switch it up and take a look at some of the craziest outfield lineups. To find that, you need to look at the 1966 Midsummer Classic. It was in Busch Stadium, and for the NL, they trotted out this outfield: Hank Aaron in left, Willie Mays in center, and Roberto Clemente in right. In total, this trio accounted for 64 total All-Stars and 394.4 WAR among them. Just wild numbers. For comparison, the most in an outfield in the last 16 years was the 2018 AL outfield with Judge, Betts, and Trout. Really good, probably 3 Hall of Famers. Together, they have 25 All-Stars and realistically could probably get another 5 more before their time is up playing. However, those 25 total is the same as Hank Aaron by himself. But these guys benefited from a double All-Star game. So if we want to look at the highest without these, we have to go to 1984 game. They had 188 total All-Stars, 9 future Hall of Famers, 1,159 total WAR, or 64 WAR per player. Among those players was Ozzie Smith, Mike Schmidt, Tony Gwynn for the NL. And for the AL, we had Rod Carew, George Brett, Dave Winfield, and Reggie Jackson all in the lineup. Just honestly a good list of names, produced a 3-1 win for the NL. So that's really all I had for today. Let me know down below what you found most interesting. Really hope you enjoyed, and looking forward to seeing you next time.